For years, they seemed like the perfect royal couple, always presenting a united front. But in his later years, Prince Philip made the surprising choice to live separately from Queen Elizabeth. Now, their kids, King Charles, Prince Andrew, and Princess Anne, are finally speaking up about why this separation happened. What led Prince Philip to live apart from the Queen during his twilight years? Let's dive into it and find out. The royal love story of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip is nothing short of extraordinary, spanning an impressive 73 years of marriage. They navigated the ups and downs of a changing world and the pressures of royal duty, becoming one of history's most iconic couples. While they appeared to have the perfect partnership, their children, King Charles, Prince Andrew, and Princess Anne, are now sharing some lesser-known details about their relationship, including insights into the separation that left many puzzled. Elizabeth and Philip's romance began long before they truly understood the roles they would eventually play. They first met in 1934 at the wedding of Philip's cousin, Princess Marina of Greece, and Elizabeth's uncle, the Duke of Kent. But it was 5 years later, when Elizabeth was just 13, that she reportedly fell for the charming Philip during a visit to the Royal Naval College in Dartmouth, where he was a cadet. Legend has it that he wowed her by jumping over tennis nets, instantly grabbing the young princess's attention. Though they faced distance and royal obligations, they managed to stay connected through letters. Philip, 5 years older than Elizabeth, was a perfect match for her lively spirit. He was known for his humor and straightforwardness, traits that Elizabeth found both refreshing and intriguing. However, their courtship wasn't all smooth sailing. Philip had a complicated background. Born into Greek and Danish royalty, he had been exiled from Greece as a child and grew up mostly outside royal circles. Some people within the British royal family and the government worried that he wasn't a suitable match for the future queen due to his lack of wealth and connections. But Elizabeth was determined. In 1946, Philip popped the question, and she said yes. They became secretly engaged, with the official announcement coming after Elizabeth celebrated her 21st birthday. Sources close to the royal family suggest that Elizabeth was set on Philip, undeterred by any objections, and their engagement marked the start of a romance that would go down in history. The couple tied the knot on November 20th, 1947, at Westminster Abbey, in a lavish ceremony that brought joy to post-war Britain. As the first televised royal wedding, it captured the hearts of millions around the world. Philip gave up his Greek and Danish royal titles, becoming the Duke of Edinburgh and taking on the anglicized version of his family name, Mountbatten. Their wedding was a spectacular display of tradition and pageantry, symbolizing hope and stability for a nation recovering from the horrors of World War II. However, amidst all the glitz and glamour, Philip found himself adjusting to life in the spotlight. While Elizabeth was already familiar with royal protocols and expectations, Philip had to learn his new role as he went along. Palace insiders say that the early days of their marriage were a mix of joy and tension, with Philip trying to find his footing in a life increasingly shaped by his wife's royal destiny. In the early years of Elizabeth and Philip's marriage, they experienced a lot of change and adaptation. At first, they enjoyed a relatively quiet life together in Malta from 1949 to 1951, where Philip was stationed with the Royal Navy. During this time, they seemed to embrace the semi-normality of life away from the constant spotlight of royal duties. It was a chance for them to have a taste of private life, filled with dances, dinners, and fun outings. Moments where they could just be themselves without the heavy burden of the crown hanging over them. But in 1952, everything shifted dramatically when Elizabeth's father, King George VI, passed away. This heartbreaking event thrust the young princess into her new role as queen, piling on immense responsibilities. Suddenly, Philip found himself having to adapt once more, this time as the consort of the reigning monarch. This change altered the dynamics of their relationship, with Philip reportedly struggling to balance his own ambitions and identity with the demands of being a royal consort, a role that had little precedent and no clear guidelines. To the outside world, Philip and Elizabeth seemed like the perfect couple, showcasing a united front filled with strength, resilience, and dedication to the crown. However, behind the palace doors, their marriage was anything but perfect. While they loved each other deeply, both were strong-willed individuals with their own distinct personalities and views on royal life. which sometimes led to challenges in their relationship. Philip, known for his outspoken nature and occasional disregard for protocol, often found himself clashing with the more reserved and traditional Elizabeth. While these differences were usually manageable in private, they sometimes bubbled over into their public life, leading to moments of tension. Palace insiders suggest that Philip's restlessness and desire for a more defined role often sparked spirited disagreements between the couple. However, Elizabeth valued his frankness and independence, seeing him as a partner who would never just nod along to everything she said. Their relationship was a mix of respect, love, and the occasional spat, with both of them aware that their personal connection often took a back seat to their royal duties. Their son King Charles witnessed this complex dynamic firsthand. He has shared how his childhood was shaped by his father's unique parenting style and his mother's relentless commitment to her responsibilities. Charles remembers the warm, humorous moments between his parents, but he also recalls the challenges that came with their royal roles. He described his father as a bit of an imposing figure, with a strict and sometimes intimidating demeanor. But he admired Philip's dedication and loyalty, qualities he recognized in his mother too. Charles has mentioned that he noticed a deep respect between his parents, even during disagreements. He reminisces about family evenings filled with Philip's hearty laughter and Elizabeth's quieter, more reserved presence, which provided a sense of stability. Like many royal kids, he was mostly raised by nannies and governesses, but the influence of his parents was undeniable. While he was aware of the pressures their relationship faced, he also saw the unending love that helped them navigate tough times. Yet, beneath the grand ceremonies and public appearances lies the story of two people who, despite their love, ultimately chose to live apart. So what really went down in those final years and what led to their decision to separate? The union between Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip endured decades of intense scrutiny and the relentless demands of royal life. While they often put on a strong, united front for the world to see, the pressures of their roles definitely took a toll on their marriage. Their children, King Charles, Princess Anne, and Prince Andrew, have opened up about how the burdens of royalty affected their parents' relationship in ways that might surprise us. Carrying the weight of the crown is no small feat. Queen Elizabeth had responsibilities that often stretched beyond just her own family, while Prince Philip found himself in a role that was largely undefined and unprecedented as a royal consort. He didn't have any power or a formal title beyond being the Duke of Edinburgh, and the monarchy, steeped in tradition, had no guidelines for a role like his. This left Philip to figure things out for himself while navigating the expectations of royal life. His position often meant that he had to walk several steps behind his wife, a symbolic gesture that highlighted their public power dynamic. But for a man like Philip, known for his independence, this could be pretty tough. Royal life, while filled with privilege, came with strict protocols and an unwavering commitment to duty. Having spent his earlier days enjoying a life of freedom as a naval officer, Philip found it challenging to adjust to the limitations and expectations that came with being married to the Queen. According to palace insiders, Philip often wrestled with being in a role where he had influence but no official authority, which left him feeling like he had little say in governance matters. It was a tough spot for someone who was used to having more control over his life. Over time, these frustrations began to bubble up in other areas of Philip's life, causing tension in his marriage. The shift from being a naval officer to a royal consort was anything but smooth for him. Known for his strong personality and straightforward nature, he often found it hard to accept his secondary role to the Queen. Sources close to the royal family say that, even though Philip publicly backed his wife, he privately struggled with the limitations placed on him as consort. He felt stifled by the strict rules of royal life and yearned for a greater purpose, which was tough to find within the rigid structure of the monarchy. Princess Anne, their only daughter, has shared her thoughts about this time, recalling her father's deep restlessness during her childhood. She describes him as someone who craved action and despised idleness, traits that were often suppressed by his ceremonial duties. According to Anne, while Philip's sense of duty to the crown was steadfast, he had a hard time reconciling that with his own desire for independence. Her insights reveal that despite being fiercely dedicated to both his family and the monarchy, Philip felt a profound conflict between his personal inclinations and the role he was expected to play. But the story doesn't end there. In the 1950s, rumors began swirling about an alleged affair between Prince Philip and a Russian ballerina. The ballerina, often named in various sources as Galina Ulanova, was a celebrated star in the Soviet Union, known for both her beauty and talent. Although there's no solid evidence to back up these whispers, the reported affair became a hot topic of gossip, igniting speculation both within the palace and throughout British society. Press reports suggest that the alleged affair ignited significant tension between Elizabeth and Philip. Some palace insiders hint at a potential government cover-up aimed at shielding the monarchy from scandal, particularly during a time when Britain's relationship with the Soviet Union was strained. The mere idea of a British royal consort involved with a Russian dancer was perceived as a potential national security risk. Allegedly, the government intervened to keep the matter under wraps, fearing the political fallout that could ensue from such an affair. Whether true or not, the whispers left an indelible mark on the royal marriage. While Elizabeth and Philip continued to project a united front, sources close to the royal family claimed that this incident affected their relationship. According to one insider, the Queen was deeply hurt, but her sense of duty overshadowed any personal pain. Rather than confront the rumors publicly, Elizabeth opted for silence, a choice that would come to define her approach to managing personal matters in the public eye. Prince Andrew, the couple's second son, has often defended his parents against the swirling stories. Known for his loyalty, Andrew has consistently refuted allegations of infidelity in interviews, emphasizing Philip's commitment to his family. He describes his father as a man of integrity, who would never jeopardize his role as consort. Yet despite Andrew's protective stance, the rumors continued to cast a long shadow over Philip and Elizabeth's relationship. As with many royal scandals, the absence of a clear answer only fueled public curiosity, leaving the issue shrouded in mystery. While some insiders maintain that the allegations were unfounded, others suggest they reflected Philip's yearning for a life beyond the confines of royal duties. The impact of these whispers on Queen Elizabeth and Philip's marriage remains a topic of speculation. For those who closely observed their relationship, it was evident that their bond, while enduring, was not impervious to the pressures of royal life and the sacrifices that accompanied it. The Queen, adept at concealing her emotions, reportedly bore the weight of the ordeal, leaving a lasting impression on her. Rather than allowing it to fracture their marriage, Elizabeth and Philip seemingly reached an unspoken understanding, prioritizing their shared commitment to the crown over personal grievances. The cracks in the facade of their marriage reveal a complex and sometimes shadowy relationship, one continually tested by the demands of royal life and the personal challenges they both encountered. While the rumors of an affair with a Russian ballerina remain unsubstantiated, they highlight the tension and vulnerability that often lay beneath the surface of their public personas. Through the eyes of their children, we gain insight into a marriage that, despite its imperfections, withstood decades of turmoil and change. For Princess Anne, Philip's restlessness was a defining aspect of his character, while Prince Andrew has remained steadfast in defending his father's reputation. Their reflections echo a narrative shaped by love, loyalty, and an unwavering commitment to duty. As we move forward, we'll delve into how these tensions ultimately led Philip to live separately from the Queen, raising questions that continue to captivate royal observers to this day. The separate lives began in 2017 when Prince Philip officially retired from his royal duties at the age of 96, marking the end of an era. After decades of public service, he sought a quieter, more private life away from the daily demands of the monarchy. This decision led him to Wood Farm, a modest cottage on the Sandringham estate, where he spent his final years away from the public eye, and notably apart from Queen Elizabeth. While some whispered about the reasons behind this choice, their children, King Charles, Prince Andrew, and Princess Anne, have offered insights into what prompted Philip's separation. His move to Wood Farm, according to reports, symbolized his desire for a peaceful and simple life. Known for his love of the countryside, Philip found solace in the private cottage, surrounded by fields and the familiar landscapes of Sandringham. There he could indulge in hobbies such as painting, reading, and outdoor pursuits, far removed from the formalities that had defined his life at Buckingham Palace. This move was not made lightly. The royal family reportedly engaged in private discussions to ensure that Philip's wishes were respected. King Charles noted that the decision was made collectively, with both of his parents agreeing that this arrangement would allow them to live comfortably in their own ways. They believed this separation would afford Philip the independence he valued while enabling the Queen to continue her role without disruption. Charles described the family conversations that took place prior to Philip's retirement, emphasizing that his father's decision to move to Wood Farm was viewed as a practical solution. According to him, his parents shared a mutual understanding of their unique roles within the monarchy, and this separation was a natural extension of that understanding. He revealed that Philip had always been a free spirit who valued his autonomy, and the family wanted to support him in whatever way they could. Initially, Charles emphasized that the decision wasn't driven by any marital discord, but rather by a shared recognition that they could each be more comfortable this way. He explained that his mother's devotion to her role as queen necessitated her presence at Buckingham Palace, while Philip sought a more informal lifestyle, free from the constraints of royal protocol. However, whispers from palace insiders have suggested that the Queen's Guard may have played a role in influencing this decision. Some sources shared that the security protocols surrounding Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle had become cumbersome for Philip, who had grown weary of the formality. It's rumored that the presence of the Queen's Guard, with its strict routines and protocols, became increasingly intrusive, leading Philip to view Wood Farm as a welcome escape from these constraints. Conflicting accounts have emerged regarding this aspect of the story. Some insiders insist that Philip's departure was entirely voluntary, while others hint that he felt confined by the heightened security measures at the Queen's residences. At the time, Princess Anne offered a more measured view of the situation. When asked about her father's decision, she explained that it was simply a matter of personal preference, downplaying any notion of tension or discord. She suggested that the separation was less about escaping the Queen's Guard or palace protocols, and more about allowing Philip the freedom to spend his final years on his terms. But was this all true? The final chapter of their story unfolded during the pandemic in early 2020 when Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip chose to reunite at Windsor Castle, where they spent the lockdown together, isolated from the outside world. This unexpected reunion provided the couple with precious time together, a gift in the twilight of their lives. For their children, this period was an opportunity to witness a renewed closeness between their parents. However, King Charles, Prince Andrew, and Princess Anne later revealed why Prince Philip didn't live with the Queen during their final years. The reasons for Philip's choice to live apart at Wood Farm were complicated. Palace insiders pointed out that apart from his desire for independence, there were also tensions with the Queen's Guard, which reportedly played a role in his move. While their children initially conveyed that the Queen and Philip had a mutual understanding of the arrangement, they ultimately confirmed that other factors may have contributed to this choice. Additionally, the long-lingering speculation about a possible affair with a Russian ballerina in the 1950s, though unproven, has fueled theories suggesting that Philip's move to Wood Farm was not entirely his decision. Some sources even suggest that the Queen's Guard may have quietly encouraged Philip's departure, adding an air of mystery to the separation. In the final months of Philip's life, however, King Charles observed a profound reconnection between his parents. He recalls quiet moments spent together, often in silence, reflecting on their shared history. Philip, despite his declining health, maintained his wit and humor, offering solace to the Queen as they faced the inevitable. Charles noted that his parents rarely spoke directly about their time apart, but their mutual respect was evident in many ways. Their bond was stronger than words, and he witnessed the grace with which they accepted one another's choices, a testament to their love for the entire family. Philip's passing marked the end of an era and was a significant loss for the family. Prince Andrew described his father's death as a moment of great sorrow but also of pride. His memories of Philip are tinged with admiration for his unyielding spirit and the dignity with which he faced life's challenges. Princess Anne, who shared a particularly close bond with her father, spoke emotionally about their final goodbye. She recounted how, during their last conversation, Philip expressed his final wishes with clarity and conviction. She was not to mourn, but to celebrate the life he lived. Her words encapsulate a man who, despite the separation from his wife, remained strongly connected to his family and their shared legacy. The physical separation that defined Philip's later years made his passing a bittersweet moment for the Queen and her children. However, it also highlighted the unique nature of their relationship, a bond that could withstand the tests of time, distance, and public scrutiny. The Queen, though a pillar of strength, reportedly felt the weight of their time apart during their final goodbye. Sources close to the family claim that she found solace in the fact that Philip had lived his life on his terms, and that they had reunited during the pandemic. For her children, witnessing their parents navigate this complex dynamic served as both a lesson in love and resilience. Princess Anne's recollection of her father's last wishes adds a poignant touch to this final chapter. In her recent statements, she revealed that Philip expressed a desire for the family to remember him not just as a consort, but as an individual who cherished his own path. Ultimately, the story of why Prince Philip didn't live with the Queen is a mosaic of love, loyalty, and the challenges that accompany a life lived in the public eye. While Prince Philip was often characterized as a ladies' man, the truth about whether he cheated on the Queen with the Russian ballerina or any other woman remains elusive. The accounts provided by their children depict a man who valued his independence but remained devoted to his family. However, a lingering question captivates public curiosity. What did his children mean when they said Philip had his own reasons for this decision? Did he truly cheat on the Queen, and why would this become a point of contention almost 5 decades later? The complexity of their relationship, combined with the pressures of royal life, adds layers of intrigue to this narrative. It invites speculation about the dynamics of love, fidelity, and duty within the royal family. As the public grapples with these questions, the enduring impact of Philip's choices and the way they resonate with contemporary values of loyalty and individualism become even more significant. Before he passed away, Prince Philip had some serious concerns about Meghan Markle that many thought might stir up trouble within the royal family. As tensions grew behind the palace walls, Philip became increasingly uneasy about Meghan's influence and the possible repercussions of her relationship with Prince Harry. He wasn't just worried about tradition. He was also concerned about the future of the monarchy itself. Philip made it clear to his close friends and family that Meghan's arrival could have lasting effects that might shake the very foundations of the royal family. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle first started dating in 2016, it felt like a modern fairy tale. Harry fell head over heels for Meghan, an American actress and activist known for her rebellious spirit and strong sense of duty. Their relationship quickly became a media sensation, blending two seemingly different worlds, one steeped in centuries of royal tradition, and the other defined by Hollywood's bold, independent vibe. While the world celebrated their love, the royal family took a more cautious stance. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh and a staunch defender of royal customs, was acutely aware that Meghan's background was quite different from the royal life she was stepping into. Having been Queen Elizabeth II's trusted advisor and friend for years, Philip understood the strict rules and expectations that governed the monarchy. He admired Meghan's independence and strong character, but he was really worried about how it would fit in with the rigid royal protocols. The royal family lives a tightly knit, tradition-focused life that's worlds apart from Meghan's upbringing. Growing up in Los Angeles, she was immersed in a culture that didn't have the same formalities and rules as the British monarchy. As a successful actress, particularly known for her role on Suits, Meghan was no stranger to the limelight, but the expectations that came with that spotlight were nothing like the responsibilities of royal life. Plus, Meghan stood out from other royal brides as a woman of mixed race who actively spoke out on social issues. From the get-go, Prince Philip recognized that two very different worlds were colliding. He wasn't one to shy away from strong personalities. His marriage to Queen Elizabeth often defied the norms, but he knew what the throne demanded. Philip understood that being part of the royal family required an enormous amount of sacrifice and obedience, something he worried Meghan might struggle with. He had witnessed firsthand how challenging royal duties could be for newcomers to the family, and was concerned about how Meghan's fierce independence would clash with the need for restraint, discretion, and adherence to royal protocol. The intense media attention on Meghan and Harry's relationship only added to his worries. As soon as their romance hit the headlines, the press became completely fixated on Meghan, tracking her every move. At first, the buzz around the couple was exciting, with many viewing Meghan's arrival as a refreshing change for the Queen. However, there were early hints that not everyone was on board with this new chapter. Philip was particularly concerned because he had seen the difficulties that other outsiders faced when marrying into the family. He knew how crucial it was to balance the demands of royal duties with personal life. Having navigated this complexity for decades, he had a deep understanding of the challenges that came with royal life. To thrive as a royal, especially in such a public role, one had to stick closely to the family's rules, and Philip was unsure if Meghan was ready or able to do that. From his perspective, the initial excitement surrounding Meghan and Harry's wedding masked a more significant issue. While everyone saw a couple in love with Meghan bringing a fresh, modern vibe to the monarchy, Philip couldn't help but wonder if her background and personality could truly mesh with the strict traditions of the royal family. Royal roles often go unappreciated, and their public duties can be pretty dull and unglamorous, a stark contrast to Meghan's previous glamorous Hollywood life. Philip was really concerned that Meghan would feel overwhelmed by the pressure to keep her own beliefs in check and stick to the princess playbook, which could create tension within the family. He was also troubled by Harry's choice to marry Meghan, especially since he had always had a close bond with his grandkids, particularly after Princess Diana passed away. Philip likely felt uneasy about Meghan's situation because he remembered how tough it was for Diana to fit into royal life. Everyone adored Diana for her warmth and charm, but behind those palace walls, she faced a lot of challenges. Philip understood all too well how easily a strong-willed outsider could bump heads with the family's traditions, and he worried that the same could happen with Meghan. What really gnawed at Prince Philip was how different Meghan's life was from the royal world she was stepping into. The royal family had managed to thrive for generations by being diplomatic and steering clear of public controversies. Royals were expected to avoid politics, stay silent on sensitive issues, and represent the crown through actions rather than words. Meghan, on the other hand, was all about passionate advocacy, which clashed with the royal family's preference for privacy. In interviews, she openly discussed topics like racial justice and women's rights, and Philip feared that her eagerness to be in the spotlight would lead her to break the institution's unwritten rules. As Harry's relationship with Meghan became more public, Philip's worries intensified. His biggest fear was rooted in the history of Wallis Simpson, an American socialite whose marriage to Edward VIII in the 1930s created one of the biggest scandals in British royal history. Like Meghan, Wallis was an outsider, a divorced American with strong opinions who turned the monarchy upside down. Edward VIII's love for Wallis led him to give up the throne, sparking a constitutional crisis that shook Britain and the Commonwealth. Philip couldn't shake the eerie similarities between Meghan and Wallis Simpson, especially since he had lived through that scandal and its aftermath. From the very beginning, he felt that Meghan's arrival could spell trouble for the royal family, potentially putting their very existence in jeopardy. Edward VIII's choice to step down for love had serious consequences, leaving the future of the monarchy uncertain. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.